innest. Now, I will stipulate here at the beginning, I don't believe this is about states thinking these laws are going to stick. It's about pushing the envelope and seeing what happens and what they can agitate at the Supreme Court level. But as you heard, Gov, I liken these to Jim Crow laws because I saw that as the same pernicious intent. Let's codify it. Let's solidify it at the local level. So at least we're starting with a base, and then we'll try our luck, see how long we can keep it this way. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right in terms of the purpose of these. They know that these laws are unconstitutional, and they've been struck down up to this point. But now they've got Kavanaugh. If you want to know what the fight about Kavanaugh was all about, this is it. So they want a case, the right case, to get to the Supreme Court, which would overturn Roe versus Wade. And let me just say, one of the states that, of course, as you mentioned, is under the microscope on this is Georgia. And there was a senator in Georgia who said, we will reclaim our rights when we reclaim your seats. A woman, Jen Jordan, Senator Jen Jordan. That is it. I'm telling you, if you saw a lot of women get mad in 2018, you saw 117 women being sent to Congress. This goes to the Supreme Court. This is happening in these states. All of those pink hats, they are coming out again, and there is very little that makes women more angry than male politicians coming in to separate them from the decisions and the very difficult decisions that they have with their doctors. Now, Niger, this is going to be a political firestorm.
Niger, you were running this a little bit with the states that are codifying Roe v. Wade. You said they're codifying infanticide. And you and I had discussions about this at that time. They're not doing anything that's not the law of the land now. Roe v. Wade is certainly only infanticide, if you want to call it that, and put that label on it. But these are not new moves. Is that hand in glove with this effort?
Well, I think that the extremes on both ends are defining the debate on this question when most of the American people are somewhere in the middle. You know,
how are you in the middle about whether or not someone's got a right to choose?
Well, it's late-term abortions, for example.
But who did late-term abortions?
Well,
what state made late-term abortions okay?
The state of Virginia rejected. But you had a legislator, Julie Chan, that was pushing a piece of legislation. She was confronted by one of her colleagues in the House of Delegates and asked, would a woman who was dilating and about to give birth be allowed to have an abortion? Julie Chan, who was the sponsor of this bill, said yes.
That is
she absolutely said yes. It's on video.
The state didn't adopt it. Jennifer, go ahead.
Niger, that is not what is happening. What is happening in the states is that who feel threatened is that they are trying to codify Roe versus Wade. In New York, as Andrew Cuomo was trying to repeal an outdated criminal law that criminalized abortion, what these states are doing, what they're doing is they see what's happening in these southern states, and they are attempting to codify and to put into state law that Roe versus Wade is the law of the land. That will only last as long as the Supreme Court continues to uphold it, of course. But that's what's happening, is that this is a relationship between a woman and her doctor, and every pregnancy is different. And it is 70% of Americans believe that Roe versus Wade should stay intact and do not want to see politicians becoming physicians and stepping in between a woman with a very difficult decision, a medical decision. And by the way, let's be clear about this. The United States has the worst maternal mortality rates of any of the developed countries. And a state like Georgia is the worst state in the country for women surviving pregnancy. So this is a healthcare issue. And let's not let politicians substitute their judgment for that of a physician.
Look, I think that conservatives, pro-life advocates, which is about 50% of the country. I mean, pro-life advocates, and I consider myself a pro-life advocate as well, have gained tremendous traction in the country in terms of popular opinion on this question. In the early 90s, about a third of Americans considered themselves pro-life. and 56% consider themselves pro-choice. Today, it's split almost down the middle, 50-50. I think conservatives and pro-life advocates are much, much stronger political, tactical, and moral grounds to attack Planned Parenthood for getting federal funds, which comes out of the pockets of those who are pro-life or pro-choice.
Okay,
I think
clear.
what
Planned
some of these
Parenthood
states are
does not
doing
use any
are too
federal
extreme.
funds for abortions. Just do not spread these lies.
They just
Niger.
move around the
Planned
money,
Parenthood
Jennifer. You
does
know
not
that.
Get federal.
If
not
Planned Parenthood is
spend one
getting,
Hold on,
dime
Nigel.
of the
You
Planned
made your
federal
Parenthood
argument.
is getting funds, they could just move around the money.
Niger, they
Yes.
could. You have no proof. They do. So when you spread it, it's bullshit. That's why she's telling you don't spread BS if you can't prove it. That's the suggestion. Let her finish the point. Go ahead.
That is the point. The Hyde Amendment says it's illegal for Planned Parenthood to do that. So you can't just go out there and make claims that are not true. Women's lives are at stake. And this is why the people of America, you can say what you want about where people are pro-life, pro-life, really. That's such a ridiculous thing. This is about being pro-birth. If you were really about pro-life, you guys would be funding the things that help children once they are born instead of cutting things like food assistance to people who have young children, et cetera. But the bottom line is this is a health issue. This is not a political issue. Let the physicians make the decision, and we're going to see what happens at Roe versus Wade, and we're going to see an electoral backlash if something happens.
I got to jump. Both of you, thank you.